morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Me? Cold. Very cold. I realise we don't get any real weather down here in leafy Surrey, but I went to pick my wife up last night. I stopped at a set of traffic lights and thought the windscreen looked a little bit dirty. Hit the screen wash and it froze on impact. It's cold. I don't think I'm going to be straying too far today, particularly as I have going to be back here by 2:30 this afternoon for our Talk Tuesday show over on Instagram. If you're around, please come and join us. I should probably start to think about topics for that show, shouldn't I? I know mental health is going to come up. I also want to talk about my prediction show for tomorrow night. And speaking of that, very quick penultimate reminder that we are meeting again tomorrow evening for our Predictions 2023 show. That's 7 p.m. tomorrow night. Incidentally, I learned precisely nothing during my visit to the doctor yesterday, aside from the fact that the cough that I've had for the past 2 years might actually be a side effect of the blood pressure medication that I'm on. So my cough is kind of the doctor's fault. I really would like to get that one sorted because I'm slowly wearing out the mic mute button here to prevent me from coughing into your ear holes. So watch this space. Now, I want to get cracking on the show because we've had a bit of a news item come in while I've been chatting. So without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I'm your host, Mark Anthony. It is Tuesday, the 17th of January, and as that remarkably persistent guy just said, welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's show, America's first Doosan dozer goes to work. We're looking back at one of Australia's biggest and most challenging demolition projects, and we're going to feel the chill with an Avant wheel loader. And feel the chill, just looking out the window this morning, actually. Plus, surfs up for a Caterpillar long-reach excavator. I'm going to get to all that in just a second, but first, let's quickly see who among the rich and the shameless will be celebrating a birthday on this day of days. Happy birthday! And it's many happy returns to American founding father Benjamin Franklin and to former British Prime Minister David Lloyd George. It's a big day in mafia circles today too. It's the birthday of the mobster who fixed the Baseball World Series, Arnold Rothstein, and of notorious Chicago gangster Al Capone. Happy birthday also to the voice of Darth Vader, James Earl Jones, guitarist Mick Taylor, singer Paul Young. Remind me to tell you my Paul Young story one of these days. Susanna Hoffs from the Bangles. Can we all just take a moment for Susanna Hoffs from the Bangles? A comedian Jim Carrey and to former First Lady Michelle Obama. But far, far, far more importantly, today marks the birthday of the man born Cassius Clay, who upset the establishment and earned the nickname the Louisville Lip, but who ultimately transcended the sport of boxing entirely as Muhammad Ali, the greatest. Many happy returns to them, one and all. We've got a whole show to bring you as usual, but we're just hearing from Construction Enquirer about what sounds like a pretty serious accident over at the Hinkley Point site. Let me throw this up on the screen and then I'm going to give you a very quick rundown on what we're hearing. Hinkley workers injured after a double-decker bus has toppled over. A double-decker bus carrying Hinkley Point workers overturned earlier this morning, leaving many injured. The Enquirer has been told emergency services are at the scene of the incident on the A30 Stamford Hill near Bridgewater. The emergency services are treating the injured and trying to release some workers who are trapped on the bus. Few details have emerged so far about the crash, which occurred at around 6 a.m. this morning, but it's rumoured that around 80 workers are on the bus travelling to their next shift. A source told the Enquirer the bus is understood to have swerved to avoid a motorbike. The air ambulance is on site and medics have set up a large scene, a triage scheme rather, at the site. We'll bring you more on that just as soon as we can, but obviously thoughts are with everybody that's involved in that. Let's hope that any injuries do turn out to be very minor in nature and that everybody makes a full recovery. Now on to the show that I was actually planning to bring you before we heard word on that. We were among the very first to bring you news that Doosan had entered the dozer market. We were also the first to bring you footage of that dozer in action. So it seems only fitting that we should also be the first to bring you footage of the first machine, or the first of those machines, on its way to its first North American company, or North American customer, should I say. Here we go.
Today we're going to deliver the first Doosan dozer in North America, our DD100, to one of our best customers, Ratoski and Trainer, in the suburbs of Philadelphia. They told me the first DD100 that comes in, you better make sure we get it. I didn't let them down. We got them not only the first one we got them the first one being sold in North America. I think the comfort of the cab and the visibility will get anyone interested in this dozer. You know, everyone that we talked to that was responsible for engineering the new dozer, that was one of their first things that they were concerned about. They wanted our visibility to be better than anyone else's.
When they said they were making a dozer, we were excited because we have 3 that are this class, this size machine. So we were dying to try it, and here we are.
This machine alone, it has great technology to it. It has great visibility. Everything's at your fingertips. So it's really an operator-friendly machine. We're really excited that we were the first ones to be able to use it. So we have a ton of work for it, and we can't wait to put some hours on it.
Sorry, just had a message in from one of our viewers, either on our WhatsApp group, and I was trying to read it before I actually was back on camera, and now I can't find the damn thing. Not entirely sure what it is. It's it's a picture of, from Peter Ferguson, and he has snow by the looks of things. I'll have a closer look in just a second when I can see it properly. I'll switch the glasses out while we're doing something else. Now, speaking of Doosan, I do have something else that I wanted to show you. It was this. Take a look. New brand for Doosan. What's all that about then? I'm sure we'll find out very, very soon. With multiple blasts spread over several years, the demolition of the Hazelwood mine and power station was one of the biggest and most challenging demolition projects ever undertaken in Australia. But now the company responsible, Delta Group, have produced a video that looks back over this astonishing project. Prepare to be impressed.
Very important, you are out of that.
off to the Delta Demolition team for a massive job. Well done. Gonna just very quickly ask Steve Williamson, where are you working at the moment? Steve has just very kindly sent us a video of his route to work, as far as I can tell, this morning, and it looks like it's the Arctic, basically. Whereabouts are you, Steve? And I know Peter Ferguson has also sent us some photographs of his journey to work this morning. I know he is in Coatbridge, which, as we all know, is well within the Arctic Circle. But it looks like we got off light. A frozen windscreen, not much really to complain about compared to some of the weather that you guys are enduring. So let me know, where are you watching from and what's the weather like where you are? While you're doing that, let's have one of these. I think that explains why Steve Williamson has got the extreme weather. He's up in the Highlands near Inverness. It does get a bit parky up there, I have to say. But thanks for letting me know. Stay safe, stay warm, Steve. He did actually say, I'm going to try and find it in the chat if I possibly can. He did actually say, I think it's -4 where he is, but it's a balmy 32. There we are. -4 outside, a balmy 32 degrees in the cab. Stay in the cab, Steve. That would be my advice to you. I've been saving our next video for a little while now, basically waiting for the time to be right. Let me just get rid of that very quickly when I can find it again. Let me just switch that off. There we go. Yeah, as I said, I've been sitting on this video for a couple of weeks now, but I awoke this morning to find my car frozen. And while this morning, well, let me try it again. I awoke this morning to find my car frozen and white, which means the time has now arrived for me to share the video. It's time to travel to the frozen north in the company of an Avant wheeled loader, compact wheel loader, if you wish. Now, my apologies if that made you feel even remotely cold. I'm going to do my best to fix that situation right after this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Now, I'm not sure I fully understand what I'm about to show you. If you have a beautiful ocean with great surf, why on earth would you want to surf the river that runs close by? And while I'm about it, where do you stand from a legal standpoint if you just decide to dig up the beach to join the river to the ocean? Now, with all that being said, it does make for a stunning video.
Excavator is here.
It's on. Tractor's here.
This thing is an actual beast. Take a freaking look at this thing. I'm hunting it down. Ah, look at this. Oh my God, the river is breaching the ocean. Look at that, are you kidding me? This is the beginning of craziness. You can see the water absolutely ripping down the river right now. You can see the tractor digging the river. It's a pretty weird kink, but river meets ocean is happening right now.
Good, right? It's actually a clip from a longer film featuring the surfer that you saw there, a guy called Jamie O'Brien. You can see the full-length version if you would like to. I've just posted a link over to it in the chat. Go take a look.
Sorry to interrupt the guy with the funny glasses, but if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button as it helps our channel. Or, better still, share this video with a friend or a colleague. Thank you. Right, back to Beardy.
Right, that pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat to see what you're all saying today. That's probably the point at which Fred, my moderator, ducks out. Thanks, Fred. If you can't stick around for that, then please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. Please stay safe. Please stay warm as well. Have a great day, and thanks for watching. And if you are available at 2:30 this afternoon, that's UK time, then join me over on Instagram for our Talk Tuesday show, I guess. Just me rambling on, basically. If you do have the inclination and the time, however, I'll see you on the other side of this for what we now lovingly call the Craic. Right, there's how are we doing this fine day? As you can tell, I'm feeling rather more chipper than I have been for the last couple of shows. Hope that shines through. How are we doing today? Let's see who is in the chat. First off the mark this morning, as he very often is, Gary Muirhead. Morning, Gary, and morning, everybody. He says Mr. Drew is in the house as well. Morning, Nick, and he says morning all as well. How are things down in the southwest, Nick? Chilly, I would imagine. Seems to be chilly pretty much everywhere. Peter Ferguson, hello, folks and folkettes. Is that a thing? I don't think that's a thing. Don't let that stop you. I make up words all the time. Thank you very much indeed for being here, Peter. Steve Williamson is here as well, and as we have discovered, he's up here in the nest. It's cold up there, even when it's not cold up there. Morning, Steve. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I didn't see this when it went through the chat. They've had nearly a foot of snow. We've had no snow here whatsoever. We don't get a huge amount of snow here in leafy Surrey. The snow can't afford the parking rates here. But yeah, it was cold this morning. As I say, defrosted my wife's car before she headed off this morning. And by the time she got out there about 3 minutes later, damn thing's frozen again. Ken Hatcher is over in Wales, and yes, the cold snap has found him as well. Morning, Ken. Good of you to be here. Mark Whiting's here as well. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Mark. Hope you're fitting well, my friend. I say that, hope you're fitting well. I often use that to say that to James Dover. Not seen James around for a little while. Hope he's fitting well. I'll drop him a line later in the day when I get a moment and make sure he's all okay. So it was it was a bit of an obvious question of the day today. What is the temperature where you are? And we've had a few answers to that, which I will flag up as we're going through. Let's have a look. Almost tropical weather in Wales. -2 this morning, compared to Steve Williamson, who had -4, although 32 degrees in his cab. Jim Turner's with us this morning, Jim. Let's have a look. Peter Ferguson, -3, going round Drumpellier Lock at 7 a.m. this morning. Yak tracks on the shoes. Yeah, the Scots do get the proper weather, don't they? Us southern softies can't deal with it, can we? Ken Hatcher says, maybe you need a Dyson fresh air fan to filter the dust, maybe stop you coughing. Well, as I say, it was like somebody lifted the veil on my life yesterday. Went to the doctors to see about the various things that are ailing me, none of which are majorly serious. But went to see the doctor anyway, and said, I've had this persistent cough, and he said, how long have you had it? And I said, I don't know, two and a bit years. And he checked his notes and he said, that's about the time that we prescribed you with Lisinopril, I think it's called, which is my blood pressure medication. And it turns out, when he checked, one of the known side effects of Lisinopril is persistent cough. So as of later this week, as soon as I can get the prescription through, I'm going to be changing that up. Hopefully you won't have to listen to me coughing and spluttering any longer. Got somebody watching from YouTube, but I can't actually see. I can't even take a stab at that name, but thank you very much indeed for being here. I'm not entirely sure what AFAS means. I'm going to look it up afterwards. I'm not even sure what language that is, but thank you very much indeed for being here. Dan Cullen's here as well. Morning, Dan. And I think he sums up the sentiment of the entire viewership of the Breakfast Show when he says, looking very easy. Yes, it is. Reminds me of a very old joke about the polar bear. I'm sure you've all heard it. Baby polar bear goes to Mum and says, Mum, are you sure I'm a polar bear? And she says, yes, of course you're a polar bear. You don't think I'm a grizzly or a brown bear? No. Why? You know, I'm just not sure I'm a polar bear. She says, go and ask your father. So he goes to his father and says, Dad, are you sure I'm a polar bear? And Dad says, absolutely you're a polar bear. Why do you ask? Baby bear says, 'cause it's bloody freezing. That's a cleaner version of the one that I normally tell, but you get the idea. Picking up on, let me do these in order, and then it will make a lot more sense. Ken Hatcher said I need a Dyson fresh air fan, and when I can find it. Peter Ferguson says other manufacturers are available, and hopefully an awful lot more, a lot less expensive. Anything with a Dyson badge seems to be phenomenally expensive. It's not a fresh air fan. I think it's these. I think it's these little beauties that are giving me the cough. At least I hope so. We shall see. Yeah, that job, Hazelwood mine and power station, incredible job. And one thing that I didn't note in the actual video, a lot of that explosive work was carried out in conjunction with Alford Group from here in the UK. Part of their teamwork were going over to Australia to assist with the blasting over there. Alford is the company that eventually brought down the remnants of the fallen power station boiler house up at Didcot after the accident that killed 4 men almost 7 years ago today. And yes, the wait still goes on to find out precisely what happened on that fateful day. Mick Norton's here. Morning, Mick. I hope you're fitting well. Where would demolition be without explosives? It's an interesting one. I'm sure I've said this before, but I regularly get phone calls and emails from TV production companies and film production companies asking about the potential of filming demolition. And I've had so many of them that I kind of know exactly where the conversation is going to go. And I always respond with, you're talking explosive demolition, aren't you? Yes, is usually the reply. And at that point I have to tell them, here in the UK, explosive demolition is probably less than 1% of all that we do. Fantastic when we do it. Is that cough again? And certainly following the path of particularly the likes of Brown and Mason with their power station demolition work, Safe Dem when they were taking down all the tower blocks up in Scotland. There's been some astonishing work done here in the UK, but it is few and far between. I wouldn't want an industry without explosives, but it is remarkably small. There we are, Steve Williamson is near Inverness up in the Highlands. Mick Norton says it's -3 in Wakefield. Yeah, but you get proper weather there as well, don't you? Ken Hatcher is predicting that Nick would like the Avant video. I'm sure he did, because, as we know, Nick likes all things Finnish. Gary Muirhead says, that's what you need, Steve. Yeah, quite possibly. If you've got one of those to hand, Steve, maybe that should be your journey to work tomorrow. Nick Drew, not remarkably, not surprisingly at all, says proper snow in Finland, and yet he still loves it there. They do winter differently up in Scandinavia, don't they? Need winter tyres there, you most certainly do. I see the blade has got skids on it. I'll need to take a closer look at that. I didn't notice that. But then Ken Hatcher, Mr. Sprocket's in the right place. He's the eagle-eyed amongst us. Jim Turner says, lovely clear blue sky here in the East Midlands. Truck was saying -3 just as I pulled in work this morning, and my hand stuck to the ram and I climbed up to check oil and water first thing. But now the sun is up, it's taking the chill off. Yet you know it's cold when you start sticking to stuff. That really is a good situation. That's all it is. There's the link if you want it to the full Surfs Up video that I brought you. It really is. It's a good video and some fantastic footage all the way from Oahu, which I'm fairly sure is part of the Hawaiian. Is it an archipelago? I don't know, but it's part of Hawaii. But there is something about surfers. They just have that whole dude vibe about them, don't they? Which, if you like that sort of thing, you'll enjoy the video. If you don't, you'll find it endlessly annoying. Mick Norton says, the Avant snow clearance reminds me of a bleak winter period in North Yorkshire in 1979 when the MOD went to the assistance of local farmers who had lost all access. When we'd completed all the clearance with our Terex, excuse me, 1 second, 7251s, as the farmers promptly put in claims to the MOD for damage to their tracks and walls. The same request in 1980 got the sailors a farewell. There are things that you see that once you've seen them, you start to be aware of them. I went to Scotland many moons ago to watch an explosive demolition. It was a safe demo. I've already mentioned them in the show, but I'm going to mention them again. And while I'm doing it, good morning, Mr. Sinclair. So yes, went up to Scotland. And there were two neighbouring tower blocks, one which was going to be demolished there and then, the other was still occupied but was to be demolished at some point in the future. And on the morning of the blast, we suddenly started to see washing being hung out of windows. And I've got to be honest, I just assumed that there was a wash day in Scotland, and it just coincidental that this was the case. But the guy that was walking me around the site pointed out the fact that this was so that the residents could make a claim for dirt and dust damage to their finest Egyptian cotton sheets and pillowcases and stuff. Fast forward a good 3 years, I would imagine, and I went to Portugal, to Porto in Portugal, to watch another explosive demolition. This time, 3 tower blocks, one to come down then and there, and the other 2 to follow at some point years later. And we arrived about 6:30 in the morning, and we're getting prepped for the demolition and everything else. Exactly the same thing. Apparently, the Portuguese air their washing precisely to coincide with explosive demolition, just as they do in Scotland. What a weird coincidence that is. And as I say, things like that, people making a claim, I know, I'm sure they would do it every single time as well. Definitely not in the UK, that video. That was the Avant one, I think. Yeah, I think you're dead right. Lol, they wrecked the lake. Yeah, I did wonder about that. Can you just pitch up onto a beach in Hawaii and start digging the thing up just because you fancy a bit of river surfing? I've got to be honest, I don't know the answer to that, mainly because I didn't even know that river surfing was a thing until then, but there we are. Steve Williamson, UK would be a definite no way that. Environmental and safety would stop that before it even began. I think they probably would, and perhaps rightly so. Ken Hatcher, the Queen owns the beach. Sorry, the King. Does the Queen own the beach? Or does the King own the beach? All of them? Is that right? I didn't know that. Now I'm well aware that there is a claim upon swans. Why would you want to own swans? As somebody that spends nowhere near enough time fishing, I can tell you that swans are basically over-large feathered wasps. They are inherently evil, and don't be fooled. A swan looks pristine and white and angelic and noble. They are bastards. Every single one of them. They are horrible, horrible creatures. So, King Charles III, who obviously watches this show on a regular basis, why on earth would you want to own those? Mark Whiting, question of the day. Mark takes the record so far, I think, -6. Ouch, that's deeply unpleasant. Mark, perhaps if your GP's prescribed a laxative, then you would be afraid to go off. It's a thought. I tell you what, it is a thought, but it would make these shows somewhat sketchy and probably quite brief. But it is a thought. Thank you very much indeed for that, Nick. So, yeah, I mentioned this at the top of the show, but I know people have come in late. I'm going to be over on Instagram for our Talk Tuesday show on on Instagram at 2:30 this afternoon, trying to win over the American audience. That's what it is. I mentioned this on Instagram last week. We've been doing live shows on Instagram for a couple of years now, although I kind of neglected them somewhat towards the end of last year. But we traditionally did them at 12 noon. It was always a bit of a rush, having done this and then having to take care of uploads and edits and everything else. It was always a bit of a rush to do that from 11 o'clock till 12 was a bit of a rush. So that was part of the reason for putting it back. But at 12, we used to get lots of people viewing from the likes of Australia and bizarrely Papua New Guinea. Thankfully, our move back to 2:30 has meant that we've retained our Australian audience, but we've also now got more Americans tuning in, which, bearing in mind I'm off to the next go in about 8 weeks' time, 7 weeks' time, something like that. Doesn't do any harm to appease the natives before you land in their country, does it? So yeah, that's what we're doing anyway. It's true that the majority of the foreshore in England and Wales is owned by the Crown Estate. However, some of the foreshore is now also owned by private landlords. Well, I did not know that. So when we've had instances, does anyone remember this? There was an instance on one of these home improvement shows where somebody, may have been Charlie Dimmock, may not have been Charlie Dimmock, I don't know, but somebody went to a beach and collected a bunch of pebbles, or big pebbles, to make a water feature in their back garden, and they were then inundated with complaints about the fact that you shouldn't actually take pebbles away from the beach where they belong. Was that because of concerns over erosion, or was that because the Queen decided that she didn't want her subjects to get their grubby little mitts on her belongings? Pebbles and swans, it really is quite a collection, isn't it? Yeah, the inner workings of the royal family, I will never understand it. And no, I have no intention of reading Harry's book whatsoever, although I have been greatly amused by the number of memes going around of people curing their heating crisis by throwing a copy of it onto the fire. Now, just going to very, very quickly recap again. I've already mentioned 2:30 this afternoon Instagram for Talk Tuesday. Tomorrow night 7 p.m. for our 2023 prediction show. Please join us if you can. But I wanted to go back for those that arrived late. That was the news first thing this morning. A double-decker bus has toppled over, possibly following basically a swerve to avoid an oncoming motorcycle, and we understand that there were about 80 Hinkley Point workers on that double-decker bus. Air ambulance has been on site. That was, I think I picked that up about an hour and a half ago, so probably about 9:15 I reckon I picked that up. No update as yet, but I will be looking into that just as soon as the show is over and done with. I can only hope that the guys that have been involved in that, hope the injuries are minor, and let's hope they make a full recovery. It does sound awful, terrible business, so wish all of those guys well, and wish the people of the emergency services well as well. I'm sure they didn't expect to be dealing with a toppled double-decker bus this morning, and hats off to them, and hats off to the air ambulance people as well. I know a couple of friends of mine, most notably Pat Williamson, the convention chairman over at the National Federation of Demolition Contractors, has had reason to call upon the assistance of the air ambulance service in the past, and they literally saved his life. So, always got a bit of a soft spot for the fine folks of the air ambulance service. They are there at the drop of a hat. Good to see that they were on site. Not good to see that they were needed on site, but good to see that they were on site anyway. Right, people, I'm going to go and make myself a nice hot drink, I think. It will be tea, I think, and then I'm going to get myself prepped for this afternoon. I've also got to finish laying out tomorrow night's prediction show, so I'll have a degree of readiness. It's not going to be entirely scripted, because I really want to get some feedback from you guys on what you think we're likely to see. Going to go back very quickly. You saw we featured that Doosan teaser. There's a new Doosan brand coming down the pipe. Quite what that's going to look like, we don't know. But that's going to be one of the predictions, I would imagine. But there's a whole lot more. We've obviously heard a few bits and pieces during the course of the past year about things that are coming down the pipe. And we're looking forward to seeing exactly what those are going to be. But then we're also going to venture into the proper unknown and try and get our handle on what might happen in this industry. Not what we know was going to happen, but what might happen. Even beached whales and sturgeon, when taken, are the property of the monk. Because you'd want a beached whale, wouldn't you? Wow. If maybe I'll dig it out and play it on this show one of these days. There was a video, I reckon it must be the best part of 20 years old. A whale had washed up on an American beach years ago. I mean, we're literally talking decades ago. Bloody thing was enormous, as whales tend to be. So they called on a local demolition company to go and blast said beastie to make it more manageable to push back into the sea as fish food or to drag up and go and dump elsewhere. Obviously, demolition companies are very adept at blowing up concrete, which is quite resistant to explosives. Turns out the rotting corpse of a whale, quite a bit less resistant. So when they pressed the plunger, there was dead whale meat everywhere. There were local cars coated in the stuff. I can only imagine the smell. I'll try and dig that out. In fact, between now and Talk Tuesday over on Instagram, I'll see if I can find that this morning, and I may bring that to you for your viewing pleasure tomorrow or at some point in the future. But until then, everybody, please try and stay warm. And I'm not saying that just because I want to give you a warm, fuzzy feeling, but it can be nasty being cold. Having had the shivers a couple of times recently, it's bloody horrible. So please try and stay warm. If you're in a cab, stay there. Stay there as long as you can. Keep that heater on. Never mind the expense. I'll be back here again tomorrow, twice. Once in the morning, once in the evening. If you can be with us, please do. If you can't, then look after yourselves. But until then, everybody, have a fantastic day. Stay safe, look after yourself, your family, friends, colleagues. I'll see you very soon. All the best.